So hey, this is Jim with the Fast Leader Show, and I'm here with Justin Robbins of ICMI, and we're at the ICMI Expo. Justin.
Hey, Jim.
Great to see you, man.
Great to be here.
Now, what's going to happen in the next couple days?
You know, I'm really excited about the topics that we're seeing emerge for this year's conference. One of the things that I consistently hear, whether it's from the vendors on the floor, the keynotes, even the breakout sessions, is really elevating the importance of the customer experience, but more importantly, what does that investment look like for organizations today? So really understanding how do we evolve that frontline role, and whether it's through automation, whether it's through adding new channels, or even just investing in the right technologies to enable them to do their job. The theme consistently is really improving the customer experience no matter what you're doing. So everything over the next few days is around that idea. What does it take for us to truly deliver great customer experiences?
I think one of the things that I'm also seeing too is that whole strategy piece around the customer experience is getting significantly more complex because of the technologies that are advancing. You know, you had mentioned something about automation, artificial intelligence and things like that, advances within the IVR systems and all of the whole workforce optimization and sentiment analysis, it's just getting significantly more complex. So when you look at somebody coming here, how can they really make sense of all that?
That's a great question. So I think of it a few ways, right? Each of the organizations here are going to be at a different point of maturity. So for some of those organizations, they might have a very sophisticated customer access strategy right now that they're looking across the different parts of the organization, whether it's the product team, marketing, innovation, whatever it would be. And so for them, they're really thinking about how do we continue to evolve? How do we continue to be on the leading edge? I would say that's not the majority though, right? A lot of organizations are in this place right now where they are struggling with very real tactical challenges on meeting the needs of today's customer. And so where I would say those organizations should start is look at just the foundational blocks that they're building their organization service strategy on. And I know you and I have had this conversation time and time again about how it really comes down to the three pillars. And not to sound like a broken record there, but we consistently hear them saying it's coming down to one of three things. And more often than not, no, it is the technology piece. It's the technology piece where they're saying, we understand agent engagement matters, and so we're investing in training, or we're making our processes easy for our customers. But it's what tools and resources do I need to provide that front line to provide the best experience? Because it is more complicated, more complex for the front line, not just for the organization, but for the front line. So if I was here thinking through that lens, I would be thinking, how can I make it as easy as possible for my front line to deliver on the customer promises that we're making as an organization?
Yeah, I think that's a great point. We definitely have to deliver on today. I mean, take care of today, and tomorrow is yet another day. However, if we can't take care of today, we're going to have some serious problems. Now, I also wanted to share with you something that I actually found on the official ICMI Expo app.
Yeah.
And there's some polls that are actually running during the event. And one of the polls that I was looking at, it says, what's your number one priority for the conference? And it actually states in here, and you can actually say what your number one priority is, and they have making new connections, evaluating new technology, learning new ideas and best practices, I don't have my glasses on, help me, Justin.
Oh, the unwinding, recharging, and getting inspired.
There you go.
And I mean, my personal favorite is too hard to choose, I want it all.
Too hard to choose, there you go. Okay, so, but the thing that is by far what people are actually saying that they're going to focus on is learning new ideas and best practices. However, when I see this, to me, really the number one thing should be, which is actually second to last, is making new connections. An event like this is about making new connections. This industry, in a big scheme of things, is not huge.
Sure.
And so when we start talking about how can I find the greatest level of help and assistance and support, it's by the connections that I make.
Jim, so I saw the same thing, and I thought the exact same thing that you did, and that outcome of learning best practices, just absorbing the knowledge of others, that is an outcome of us building those relationships. I've been actively involved in the industry for a little more than 10 years now, and I look back to a decade ago and the relationships I formed then, and Jim, it is so true that those relationships, those connections, not only foundational in helping us learn what those best practices are, discover from others, but then if the people in our network, they don't know, they aren't sure themselves, them being able to connect us to others. So to me, connections is where it all begins. If you don't be intentional about building those relationships, it will be more difficult, not impossible, but more difficult to really get the the breadth and depth of the knowledge and the learning that you can get.
Absolutely. So coming to one of these events, make sure you're making the connections, you're connecting with everybody you possibly can, build your network. So for me, I've been in the industry about 20 years, and my first 10 was in operations, and I really didn't do a whole lot of networking. So for me, I was kind of in a hole, so to speak. But it's those connections that I finally had the opportunity to make that have really been the difference for me.
Absolutely.
So I appreciate you. You've been a great connection.
Jim, you've been an awesome connection.
And we wish you the very best, buddy.
Great. Thank you so much.
Take care.